Hi, I'm John, and I'm going to take you through the process of building a Rill canvas. What we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of models, the auction metrics here and the bid metrics, and combine them into a single canvas. So we're going to start by adding the canvas to the project. So I add a canvas dashboard, and then we add widgets onto the page. So let's start with some KPIs, as is kind of traditional at the top. So that's the widget added with some automatically selected fields, but I want to select the metrics I want. So I'm going to use the bid metrics model. I'm going to take the first 4 measures from that. And I could change the layout of these. You can change where the spark line goes, which can make a difference when you're building a larger dashboard. So let's add that. Let's remove the percentage indicators, for instance, so it's a little bit less text, because I want to add some more KPIs still from the other model. That means adding another widget as well. So let's add second KPI widget that's taking from the other model this time. And we'll add, we've got fewer measures here, so let's take just 2 from this, and let's resize the layout here a bit to get, there you go. I think that works quite well for 6 KPIs at once. So really fast to do that. And these are picking up on the comparison period at the top. So you have the same behavior as you get from the Rill Explorer, and being able to scan over this and see how things have changed and how they compare over time. So that's some KPIs. Let's add some charts below this. So we add another level of widgets, if you like. Let's add a chart, and let's take the auction metrics. Let's take a volume. Let's take the volume request coming through, and let's split that by, for instance, the device type. And I could choose different types. I could have this as a line chart, for instance, but I'm going to keep with the stacked area there. And let's add another chart to the right here, and let's show the proportionality of some requests. So in this case, we will take the bid metrics. I'm going to take the overall spend here is the measure I'm interested in. And I want to break this down. So instead of using this over time with the time on the x-axis, let's do this as a app or site. And I could further break this down, let's say by creative type, these low cardinality fields. And I want to show this as proportions. So in this case, I will use the stacked normalize bar here. And that's working quite well to show me how those 2 different categories, how the spend is split between them. And again, I can rearrange these or resize these so that the longer chart has more space than the other. Okay, so that's, you can see, really fast to build out some KPIs to start off with, and then some charts drilling it down. And of course, the other classic way of looking at your data is more tabular formats. So let's add a table below all of this. So we've got a table here, and we always give a pre-populated selection so you can quickly get a view of what the component looks like. But let's clear all of this out and go from scratch. As before in the panel, we start with choosing the metrics view that we want to use. I'm going to use the bid metrics. And now we choose what columns we want to add into the table. So we have all the measures, of course. We now, for a table, have the different time grains that we might to add to break things down, and the dimensions as well, of course. So I'm going to take a kind of campaign view here. So I'm going to add a few dimensions, and then going to select my measures. I'm going to include everything that we had as a KPI at the top of the screen, but also, I can scroll to the left and to the right in a table, so I've got more space to play with. So I might keep on adding in additional measures there and make full use of that capability. I might also, because there's a lot of scrolling up and down to be done here, I might help the user drill down into a hierarchy by turning this into a pivot table. And that's going to take your first set of columns, the dimension columns, and reduce them to a single column that we can drill down into like so. And the other thing we might do to get more on the screen is we might want to get it all on the screen at once without the scrolling. So we might not want necessarily to have the comparison columns here as well. So I can actually set individual filters on a widget and not just take them from the top of the screen. And I do that by choosing the filters tab there. I'm going to have local time range in this case. And I'm going to leave off the comparison period. So you can see that helps me squeeze everything into a single view at once there. I could also have a different time range. Maybe I want to say, look at the last 3 days worth of data and not just the most recent 24 hours. So that's adding in a table. Now there's another tabular representation of the data that we can use, which is the leaderboard, which you've taken from our main explorers. So let me add one of these to the left of the table, the leaderboard widget there. And if you're a Rill user, you'll be familiar with these from our existing data exploration. If you're not, they're really quite cool little components. I'm going to have just a couple of dimensions there. And I'm going to balance this up a little bit to give the table a bit more space. I'm going to collapse the panel on the left to give me a bit more space as well. And I'm going to turn these into 10 rows rather than 7. So I've now got a couple of top 10 breakdowns, if you like, of the selected measure, which is the request measure here. I'm going to add that in a subtitle. So let's say this is the requests volume. Now, these are highly interactive. So if I select one of these, the rest of the canvas is going to pick this up because it's been added to the filters in the top bar. And it will also let us make multiple selections and keep that state. Let me show you what I mean by that. So we've got this breakdown of what are the biggest application sites. And we're currently sorted by magnitude, essentially. So I'll take the 2 largest sites. Now if I sort by the change, I can select the 2 sites that represent the biggest change since the previous period. And if I sort now by the percentage sign, I've got the biggest relative changes. And as I change the sort order, this widget is keeping all of the selected values visible. So those are the big things, the biggest changes, the biggest absolute values, the biggest relative changes. And because I can change the sort order, select them all and keep them all visible, it's a really nice way of filtering through your data. And I can clear all of those filters like so. And there we have, quite a rich and powerful dashboard here, starting with KPIs, some visualizations in the form of charts, and these tabular views, including the leaderboard that gives us a nice, easy top-down kind of view. It gives us a horizontal bar chart effect. It also gives us the ability to filter the rest of the canvas. So a really powerful capability there. Okay, so that's all of the kind of data representation aspects that I want to show. But now let's do a little bit with the layouts of this. So the first thing we're going to do, because I was kind of running out of space, if I was expecting these canvases to be used by people with wide screens, then I might want to give myself a bit more space in the maximum width. So on the canvas settings in the panel, I can change that. I can change the themes. So if we take these KPIs at the top, they're in a kind of real bluish purple there. But I could either, with the custom themes there, I could set my colors for those views, or in my case, I have in the project, I have a theme file, so I can just select that. And now we're going into the green theme that I've chosen for this. So a little bit of styling and choosing what is the appropriate maximum width for my expected users. And the other thing I might do is I'm going to add at the top a header using the text widget that accepts Markdown. So we've got some example Markdown there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste some Markdown that I already had. Paste that into my widget there. So you can see on the right, this is standard Markdown, which we can cover elsewhere, but we've got a heading and we've got some text, and I put some links into this. So I think this is quite a nice touch, which is I've given a header, campaigns overview, but also we've got links to the underlying metrics views, so we can use Rill's data exploration capabilities to look at those, and might also have a link to, for instance, a user manual that we've written or contact details for the owner of the dashboard. And now that we've built out our Canvas dashboard, including the choice of data, we have selected our time ranges perhaps for the different widgets, we've selected the appropriate theme and so on, we can finish off by going into preview mode and seeing what this is going to look like when it's deployed. And there you have a Rill Canvas dashboard. Now, just as we can with Explorers, these can be embedded into other sites. So let's just flip into an embedded example to give you a quick flavor of what can be achieved there. So here's an example of a Rill Canvas embedded into a web application. So now, in addition to fast access to data exploration, as we've always done, if you're building an internet portal or an external client or customer product, you can build the exact layout that you would like as part of that design using Rill. But whether you're using embedded or more often just the direct access, it's the same cost model, for instance, so this will be able to be shared with any number of users at the same cost. So we hope you enjoy this new feature, Rill Canvas. We look forward to seeing what everyone builds with it, and thank you for your time.